Ciao, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I have come up with 3 really incredible Mediterranean diet meal ideas focusing on protein. I'm gonna call it a summer recipe video, but you can make this any time of the year. And so many of my recipes and meal ideas are mostly just about inspiration to kind of get you guys in the kitchen, thinking of meal ideas, flavor combinations, how to build certain meals, and meal prep in general. So it's kind of just more of inspiration. All the recipes in my recipe videos really like piggyback off each other because I always want to make sure if I'm telling you guys to buy different types of ingredients that you will have several recipes for these ingredients so they don't go to waste. You have more ideas of what to do with these ingredients, and I just think these recipes are really awesome. So to start off with recipe number 1, it is actually based off a recipe I created last year for a savory breakfast recipe video. It was a baked halloumi and white bean dish in this amazing roasted red pepper sauce. I'm taking that same roasted red pepper sauce because, like I said, I always like to show you guys multiple options for the recipes I make, and I'm honestly just making it the exact same way again, switching out 2 ingredients to give you guys more ideas. So this is based off of a recipe called shrimp saganaki, which is a Greek dish where it's just baked shrimp and feta in a beautiful red sauce. For recipe number 2, it's meatballs, specifically lamb meatballs. These are doctored up with incredible spices, one of my favorite ingredients ever, which is pomegranate molasses, and I love a variety in my diet. We see turkey meatballs, regular beef meatballs, pork meatballs all the time, but it's nice to switch up literally everything when it comes to variety, even the meats that you're eating. And so I made these delicious lamb meatballs with a nice, refreshing, herby lemon yogurt tahini sauce. Tahini sauces are my favorite sauces. And of course, we are gonna talk lots of sauces in this recipe video because it wouldn't be a Caroline Mediterranean diet recipe video without a bunch of new sauces, because a meal is not complete without a sauce. You guys know me. And the last option, I'm going to do a really fun way to cook beans. Butter. I love butter. I think butter gets so much hate, and I will always continue to be such an advocate of really good, high quality, delicious butter. It is a huge part of the Mediterranean lifestyle, believe it or not. I made a compound butter of saffron and a lot of spices like sumac, citrus like lemon zest and lime zest, and just so many flavors. I think a compound butter is an incredible staple to have on hand. I made a compound butter this past fall. It was a brown butter sage compound butter, and I thought I also needed to make one for, well, spring's over, but also summertime, to really just have on hand, keep it in, you know, your fridge, and you can just make delicious meals because you have such a flavorful butter. And throughout the video, I will go on sharing what kind of sides you could put with these protein recipe ideas and just other variations, and just hopefully include everything that you need for some delicious, amazing Mediterranean diet recipe and meal ideas. My full recipes with all the details are always on my website, where you can find even more recipes to pair with these delicious recipes. I'm sick of saying the word recipes, so let's finally just hop in to recipe number 1. For recipe number 1, we are going to be doing the shrimp saganaki riff. Really, it's baked shrimp and feta in a roasted red pepper sauce. But I have the oven preheating to about 415, 425. We're just gonna try to warm up the sauce that is already prepped here, as well as get the feta nice and soft and gooey, and cook the shrimp all the way through. But the beautiful beauty of shrimp is it cooks quite quickly. So it's a really fun and easy, quick protein choice on the Mediterranean diet. Eating seafood as much as possible is a huge goal. If you didn't want to do shrimp, you could do like chunks of whitefish, chunks of salmon would be really good. So kind of just cubing up your fish and putting in throughout, obviously them being the same size, about 2-inch cubes. Otherwise, you could also use white beans. You could do little cubes of chicken. Possibilities are endless. So I have the amazing roasted red pepper sauce. I prepped this yesterday and I was licking it by the spoonful. It's so delicious. I honestly need to make it more. I should stock it in the freezer. It would last like about 2 months in the freezer, because one of my favorite sauces ever. It is so good. It's perfect for this dish. It really complements everything. And not to mention, so easy. Big sheet tray, and you take a very large pint of my favorite type of tomatoes, which are flavor bombs, aka cherry tomatoes. It's really important to know the difference between a cherry tomato and a grape tomato. A grape tomato is that more tiny tomato that's kind of long. A cherry tomato is a small circular tomato. The cherry tomatoes are always more sweet and more flavorful than a grape tomato. So those with some red onion, onion. You could also use white onion if you'd like, or even shallot. And then the red peppers, which is the star of the show. The tomatoes can be quite acidy and really help with the sweetness of this roasted red pepper sauce, not like sweet dessert, but like sweet flavor profile. The carrots really help with it. Lots of spices. I love smoked paprika. It really balances the sweet so well. That's sweet and smoky, so that's probably the star spice of this sauce, as well as coriander, sumac, thyme, oregano, salt, and you just roast it like crazy until everything is nice and caramelized and really gotten really soft, so that way it blends so easily. And make sure when you go to throw it in the blender that it has all of those spices scraped off from the tray. You do not want to leave basically anything on the tray, so the faster you can get it into the blender, the better, because you want to really scrape off all of that olive oil, all of those spices, all of that flavor that was made on the bottom of the tray, because it's so delicious. And then I added in some water, but if you wanted to add in some broth as well to help blend it and get it nice and smooth, about 1/3 cup to start out. And if you feel like you want a thinner sauce, you can always add more water or more broth. So that is the gorgeous, delicious, beautiful roasted red pepper sauce that I'm gonna pour so carefully into this pan, because new outfit and I don't need stains today. Caroline put on an apron. No. Okay, so here we go. Sauce is in the pan, like so. I'm just going to even it out. So off camera, I actually added about 1/2 cup of water to the pan and stirred it in with the sauce, because the sauce is so thick. I really wanted a little bit more runnier, so that when it bakes, it doesn't become kind of like pasty, it stays a sauce. So now we're gonna work on the shrimp. I have 1 pound of shrimp here. Will not even come close to meeting it today, so I'm just gonna cook off the shrimp another way. The best shrimp always come with the tails attached, but personally, I don't want to put the tails in this dish. So I'm gonna go ahead and quickly just take all the tails off. I'm gonna keep them in the bag because I'm gonna dress them with olive oil, salt, and pepper. Season every layer. So I grew up watching the Food Network, and I learned a lot of my cooking actually from watching hours of the Food Network every day when I came home from grade school, believe it or not. And something one of those chefs said is a huge part of cooking is seasoning every step. So all I'm gonna do is drench them in a little bit of olive oil, salt, and pepper, so that when you bite into the shrimp, even though you have that amazing sauce, they taste amazing as well. Squeeze and rip off the tail. Massaging the olive oil, salt, and pepper on the shrimp, just making sure that I didn't miss any tails, which I just found a tail, and just making sure they're super fully coated. That's why I love getting shrimp from the fish bar in your grocery store. One, it's so fresh and delicious, more than the frozen kind. And two, they package it really nicely in this bag. It makes it so easy to coat them and marinate. So I'm just gonna place the shrimp all around, making sure and leave room for the best part, which is the feta. Okay, so I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Greek feta. You can use whatever feta you like, just make sure it's imported. I've tried, I have American feta over and over again. It never tastes as good as imported feta. Okay, so I'm just breaking up big chunks, because I like big chunks of feta. And anywhere I see an open space, I'm letting that be a feta space. So you really only need about, I would say, like 2 or 3 ounces of feta. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this dish into the oven. I like to put it on the top rack so it gets a lot of heat on top. Let's talk about the topping. The topping can be truly as easy as herbs, but I'm gonna mix some countries up here. Welcome to Caroline's Modern Mediterranean Living. If you're new here, my name's Caroline. I do all things modern Mediterranean living. I am so passionate about never letting traditions die and giving credit where credit is due to the traditional recipe. But for example, today I'm taking a very traditional recipe and making it a Caroline recipe because modern. Not that there's anything bad with the original, it is also very delicious, but it can also be delicious in different ways. So another thing that I like to do is mix up countries. So we have a Middle Eastern sauce here going with what was a Greek inspired dish. This is Zaug, how do you say it? Let me try to translate this. It's spelled Z-H-O-U-G, Zaug. Arabic, hard language, very hard language. It is jalapenos with a whole head of cilantro, a 1/4 head of parsley, and those jalapenos were whole. This girl, when she uses jalapeno, rib seeds go bye-bye, because I personally can't do spicy, but I realized if I'm gonna be a good cook for you guys, I need to intertwine everything. So I'm trying to bring more spicy to the table. I'm trying to be very aware of that because people love spicy. And I will say I added 2 jalapenos because that is just enough for me to feel like holy crap kick, but I can still taste the flavor. If you're a spicy human, 3 to 4 jalapenos is more traditional. Added in coriander, cumin, and cardamom, which are 3 incredible spices. Everything always needs a little bit of lemon in my world. All of my recipes always, for the most part, will use a whole lemon zested and juiced. Most recipes you'll find on the internet will call for half of a lemon juiced, half of a lemon zested. I love citrus so much, so I never not use the whole thing. Sometimes it's overpowering for people. I've heard people say it's a little too citrusy. That doesn't exist in my world. I don't believe in too citrusy, so therefore I always use a whole lemon for the most part. If you see that in my recipe and you're like, Caroline, that seems like a lot to put a whole lemon in this sauce, try it out with half. If you're like me and you're obsessed with citrus, then trust my recipes. Long story short, I have a spicy herby sauce. I'm just adding another huge layer of flavor. If you wanted to, just chop up some parsley and cilantro, one or the other, sprinkle it all on top, add a little drizzle of extra olive oil, and boom, you can finish the dish there. It's time to taste test this roasted red pepper baked shrimp and feta with a spicy cilantro jalapeno sauce. I have my bread ready to go with a piece of feta on it. Wow. This shrimp is cooked to perfection. It's not too hard or rubbery. There's a beautiful kick. I love the briny, salty feta with this roasted, sweet and smoky red pepper sauce and a little bit of bread to go with it. Came together so easily. This is so good. And what I truly love about this roasted red pepper sauce so much is that red sauces in general, like tomato sauces, are quite kind of watery. So a lot of people feel the need to add like heavy cream to them. But because it's with the red peppers, which are like a more thicker texture than watery tomatoes, and I didn't add too much water to like thin it out, this sauce feels so velvety and so creamy, but it's totally just vegetables and olive oil and it's just blended up. But it feels like there is like an almost heavy cream to this sauce. So good. The recipe is so incredible. You have to make it. It's amazing. So much flavor, but so easy. So anyways, I'm gonna finish this plate and we're gonna move on to recipe number 2. For recipe number 2, I'm going to start off with baking the lamb meatballs that I prepped yesterday. These meatballs are sensational. And like I said in the intro, there are a lot of options to change out lamb. Whether you want to just do ground beef, a mixture of ground beef and pork, if you wanted to do turkey, if you wanted to do chicken. Your diet needs to be a variety. That is one of the reasons why, amongst millions, that the Mediterranean lifestyle and diet is so amazing, is because there's always a huge variety of options. And so that way we're getting in all this abundant amount of nutrients from so many places, and we're not taking all these really expensive, overpriced supplements that America likes to trick you into buying a bunch of. These lamb meatballs, let's talk about them. Amazing ingredients that I put in here that are quite special that I'd like to highlight that are amazing to the Mediterranean diet. Pomegranate molasses. It is something so unique. The best way to describe it would basically be balsamic without the vinegar. So you get this really robust, thick, syrupy, fruity flavor, but you're not getting any of that vinegar flavor that balsamic has. So you could use balsamic as a substitute. Aleppo pepper. Even though I said I'm not a huge spicy person, everybody loves a little kick, especially when that kick has such a depth of flavors. You could always use red pepper flakes, as well as baharat. Baharat is a spice that goes so well with beef specifically, but a lot of more kind of hearty dishes, baharat goes really well with because it's cinnamon, cumin, coriander, and I believe 1 or 2 other spices, but baharat is a great spice mix. So I have the meatballs here. I'm gonna give them a re-roll. I prepped them the day before, and I'm just gonna do about 3 to a row on this little tray and bake them off. And they're so easy, you just throw them in the oven. You could put them in the pan if you wanted to kind of roll them around and keep sauteing them on all sides. Have them all evenly laid out just like this. Even though the meatballs have such a high content of fat, I'm still gonna spray them with a little bit of avocado oil. This is specific here. I want to make sure these get nice and caramelized. I'm gonna keep them at a pretty high heat. Avocado oil does great for golden brown caramelization at high heat. It has a smoke point of 500. Olive oil does not have a high smoke point. And if you burn our precious olive oil, she becomes toxic. and we're not trying to eat toxic things. We're trying to avoid that. They're little tiny meatballs, so they shouldn't take long to cook at all. We have an awesome meal prep option as well. Great for meal prep, great for a lot of things. Like I said, I'm just serving them today with a little bit of sauce. You could use like a side salad in the sauce. You could make a pita sandwich out of them. You could throw them on top of pasta. Sky's the limit of like different ways you could use these meatballs. Silly me forgot to explain what is the best sauce of this entire recipe video. I absolutely love this sauce as much as I do love the roasted red pepper sauce, and granted, every sauce in this recipe video. This one is different than the roasted red pepper sauce because it is so creamy and zesty and herby and vibrant compared to like the smoky sweetness of the roasted red pepper sauce. So this one I actually love because I was snacking on it earlier today before I came back to edit this video with some carrots and cucumbers, and it just paired so well. It's like the ultimate Mediterranean like ranch dressing, if that like makes any sense. I don't even want to compare it to it like that, but that's basically what it feels like. It's thick and creamy from the delicious whole milk yogurt, and then it's nice little nutty tanginess from the tahini that also makes it a beautiful, rich, thick texture. And then all of the summer herbs, loaded with summer herbs. I use both lemon and lime because I love them put together, but you could use even some orange or just lemons or just limes, kind of whatever citrus you have, as well as some olive oil to kind of balance out all of the flavors. A little bit of honey that also really balances out. It doesn't make it sweet at all to put the honey in there. It just helps with all that tanginess from the yogurt, nuttiness, and just kind of just balances. That's the best way to put it. Salt to bring out all the flavors, pepper for a little bit of something else to kind of give it a kick, and it's just so thick and dreamy and creamy, and it's the perfect sauce for something super meaty and kind of robust like these meatballs. But I'm telling you, there are so many ways to use this sauce all summer long. Like really, this video should be called the summer sauce recipe video. But anyways, I truly love this sauce, not to mention how easy it is, and it just pairs perfectly with these meatballs. So let's get back to the recipe video. It's time to try the pomegranate molasses and Aleppo pepper lamb meatballs with a herby lemon yogurt tahini sauce. I don't eat a lot of red meat, but on the occasion that I do, this has to be now one of my favorite go-to recipes, because not only were these so incredibly easy to make and so quick to make, the flavors are absolutely incredible. The lamb with the pomegranate molasses, there's just enough baharat in there to give it such depth of flavor along with that tangy pomegranate molasses. Also, the fat content of lamb makes it so juicy. And then I put in some cucumbers for a nice crunch and refreshing goodness. The flavors are top notch, and I'm getting just a slight little tiny kick from that Aleppo pepper, but it's not too much. If you like something super spicy, double the Aleppo pepper in this recipe. These are absolutely incredible. And even though there's so many herbs within the meatballs, the yogurt sauce complements it so well, because there's that cinnamon and the pepper and the molasses. So there's all this like peppery, spicy caramelization kind ofness in the lamb. So the really creamy, refreshing, cooling, herby lemon yogurt nutty tahini sauce is so perfect. This is a great summertime meal with some pita bread, some pita chips, add some cucumbers, maybe bell peppers. I'm gonna finish the second meatball because I just cannot put this plate down, and then we're gonna move on to recipe number 3. So good. For the third and final recipe, I'm gonna showcase a vegetarian option because vegetarian is huge as well on the Mediterranean diet, eating a lot of vegetarian style proteins, beans being one of the biggest options and most popular options. One of my favorite beans, which is cannellini. They're the perfect mix of soft and creamy beans, yet sturdy enough that they hold their shape when cooking. So I really like them. So all I have to do to prepare this protein and get it ready to go is just to drain and rinse it. To start off, I have this beautiful, amazing saffron butter that I'm cooking this whole dish in. I have these gorgeous summer squash, a very seasonal item, so I definitely wanted to showcase them. Cut them in half and then cut them into nice, like kind of almost bite-sized pieces. I also liked these summer squash because it's kind of the perfect shape to go along with the beans. So use cauliflower. Like I said, you could use zucchini for this recipe. Any like vegetable you feel like would be good sauteed. Those flavor bomb tomatoes would be really, really good with this. I'm gonna prep the vegetables now while I talk about the butter, which is absolutely incredible by itself. The variations of this are endless, whether you want to throw it on seafood this summer, whether you want to use the butter on sandwiches and toast. It's just nice and spicy and just everything that the warming deliciousness of saffron is, along with refreshing citrus, one of my all-time favorite spices, which is sumac, and just so many good flavors that this butter has so many possibilities. And I think it's a huge staple slash kind of item to have in your repertoire. And now for the red onion, I'm gonna use half of a really large red onion here, or a medium-sized onion would do great here. Half, and then just do thin little slices. Besides the vegetables that I have prepped, the protein choice, which is beans, you could use also lentils in this, like pre-cooked lentils would be a great option. The delicious, amazing saffron butter that I have here, which is going to be the biggest flavor of it all. I'm also going to deglaze and kind of cook the vegetables a little bit more in some wine as well. I have a little bit of rosé here, something just to kind of give it a more depth of flavor and help also with kind of making more of a sauce than just this glazed butter kind of option. So I have the third and final recipe. It honestly comes together the fastest of them all. The beans and the vegetables. The sauce is a beautiful saffron butter wine sauce. So elevates these beans and makes them feel like super luxury. I love them. The beans are so soft and meaty. The crunchy crisp of the fresh vegetable, and then that saffron wine butter sauce elevates these to the next level. I could eat this entire bowl, but I won't, as much as I want to. The flavor is incredible. All of these recipes turned out fabulous. I'm actually so proud of myself for how amazing all these recipes turned out. And I would love to know what your favorite recipe from this recipe video was, as well as maybe any recommendations, any questions you guys have on the Mediterranean diet or the Mediterranean lifestyle, any ingredient questions, meal questions. Please let me know. I'm literally here for you. So any way that I can help you, tell me, because I want to be able to help you and share delicious, amazing, not only just Mediterranean diet recipes, but also such amazing Mediterranean lifestyle habits and the way of living, because on my channel I am all things modern Mediterranean living, as you guys know. So thank you so much for watching this recipe video. I really hope you enjoyed. I really hope you got a recipe or two out of it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I hope you create a very zestful day. Ciao.